day comes on a Shabbos, so then it's only the negative aspect, the external negativity of the day is what's pushed away, but the inner meaning and the goodness of it is something that is revealed, and therefore even more so this idea of what we say on Shabbos Chazon, we show the Beis Hamikdash to every single person and so on. So we're going to start from Ois Gimel. Ha'ili anal the Shabbos Tish B'Av, this advantage of the Shabbos of Tisha B'Av, mudgish yosef, be'inyan ha'achila v'shtiya shebiyom zeh, is even more emphasized when we speak about the eating and drinking that takes place on the Shabbos of Tisha B'Av. Because there's the mitzvah of delighting in Shabbos, enjoying Shabbos, to delight and to enjoy, but the delight of eating and drinking, like it says, it brought down Shulchan Aruch, dogim gedolim, we should have big fish. In other words, Shabbos is not a time to eat sardines. You got to have like really big, huge pieces of fish. Basar, yayin, meat, and wine. Even concerning the third meal of Shabbos, when Tisha B'Av comes on Shabbos, which is the Suda Mafsekes, which is the meal that separates before the fast day when we have to stop eating. So even though normally when it comes to a Tisha B'Av that comes out in the middle of the week, obviously we don't eat wine, but we don't drink wine, and we don't eat meat or poultry, but even in general, the meal is a lot more low-key and toned down. In this case, it's even just the opposite. Hadin hu da halach is sha'oichel basar v'shoisi yain v'sudam hafsekes. A person eats meat and drinks wine at the sudam hafsekes. U'maylal shulchanei afilu kesudas shloime beis malchusoi, and he can even bring on his table food like king, like the Suda of Shlomo Melech while he was in his reign. Moving from this understood, Yom Tainis Shechal b'Shabbos, when a fast day comes out on Shabbos, Yeshna loyrach shlilas ha'inui shebeheder achilu v'shtiyah. Not only is there a negation of the affliction that comes about with when one does not eat and drink, but just the opposite. Alagam ubeikir, also and primarily has simcha v'tainuk sheyeshnam ba'achilas basar u'shtiyas yayin yoshem. That the joy and the delight that's to be found with eating rich meat and drinking old wine. The Rebbe goes on to say that Yeshloimar, we could say, should be yom tainus shechal b'Shabbos. When a fast day comes on Shabbos, tzrichim lahoisiv b'zeh, a person needs to add in this yoiser midbishar Shabbos hashana, more so than the rest of the Shabbos of the year, to negate any possibility that a person could think that he's fasting. That's the story of the Rebbe's father, who was a Rav in Yekaterinoslav. There was a person that was in Avelus. He was in mourning for a private Avelus, lost someone close to him, maybe a parent. And he used to wear slippers all year round. I guess he was comfortable in it for whatever reason, even on Shabbos. But during the Shabbos that he was in the week of the Avelus, the Rebbe's father, Reb Leivik, told him not to do so, because if he's wearing slippers on that Shabbos, it looks like perhaps that maybe he is mourning on Shabbos. So anything that may look like mourning on Shabbos needs to be negated. Therefore, the Rebbe says, in a similar vein, we need to not just maintain the same type of meal and the same type of joy, like every type of Shabbos throughout the year, but that it shouldn't chas v'sholem be thought that we are acting mournful on Shabbos. We have to go out of the way to increase and add in our joy on Shabbos and add in our meal on Shabbos, that no one should suspect that we are somehow minimizing our enjoyment because of the fast day. And the question is why? The explanation this is, like spoken about many times, the Rebbe talks about. We've learned about this many times. The inner message of a fast day is good. It's a Yom Ratzon LaHashem. It's called a day that's auspicious, and it's an appeasing day, and a day that is wanted, and the will of Hashem is revealed. What's the inner purpose? What is the reason? What's the goal of the fast day? She is Geulah in Yonam Atoy, that their good theme and their good ideas should become revealed. Yahavchu Yamim Elu, that these days should become transformed. Liyos Yamim Tovim Meisasim V'Simcha, they should be Yamim Tovim, and there should be days of rejoicing and happiness. Kefishi is Geulah B'Geulah Mitzvah Shlema, that as it will be revealed in the true and complete redemption. And this is the Rebbe's emphasis the whole time. One cannot lose track of the big picture. Many people tend to not see the forest for the trees. We get so preoccupied with all the minutiae and all the halachas of mourning and the halachas of fasting, and we think that the message of Tish B'Av is mourning and fasting, and the message of the 9 days is being a mourning, and the message of 3 weeks, and the message of Shabbos B'Tammuz is the mourning and the fasting. The Rebbe says, no, the mourning and the fasting are not an end in itself. The mourning and the fasting are a means to an end. These are only vehicles and channels through which we will reach the ultimate idea and the true concept that's concealed and inside of the fast, which is that these are days meant to become joyous days. Not just fasts will be erased and they will be like an ordinary day of the year, but they will become joyous days. And that is what we are aiming for. Even when we're mourning, even when we're actually fasting, what's the purpose? The purpose is to change the situation here on the ground, to realize the terrible thing that we're here in Geulah, so that we can transform it into the Geulah. This inner message of the fast day, Mudgish Begolui, is emphasized in a revealed way, when the fast day comes out on a Shabbos. Then the fast becomes pushed away. But what's pushed away is only the externalities, the negative aspect of the fast. But not the positive and the good and joyous aspect of the fast day, that it's a day that's auspicious and wanted by Hashem. But just the opposite, it actually fits in with what Shabbos is about. Since every Shabbos is a day that is willed and wanted by Hashem, like it says, a beloved and a special and enjoyable day, you called it. Chemda means from the word desire. Mitzvah la'anga, it's a mitzvah to delight in it. So therefore, when it coincides with Tisha B'Av, that a fast day is a Yom Ratzon, so we have like the Yom Ratzon coming with the Yom Ratzon. Bezel Yom HaKosher Magula Kanal, earlier in the Sicha, the Rebbe says that Shabbos, Mizmer Shir Yom Shabbos, has to do with the Geulah. Yom Shekuli Shabbos Amnuchal Chai Lobim, the entire state of the Geulah is called the state of Shabbos. Harei Oz HaEis Ratzon, that time is B'Yeser, says to B'Yeser, or is then the auspicious time of the fast day is in so much more powerful way and in so much of a stronger way. Then the fast day is a Yom Tov and a day of rejoicing and a day of happiness. Similar to the way it will be in the days of Moshiach. The Abshad Chias Hatainis idea Shabbos Noisen HaKoyach L'Tchoisel Legamri B'Moisa Mashiach. That it says that the pushing away a fast day through Shabbos is actually empowers us to reach the stage where it's going to be completely pushed away, as in the days of Moshiach, when the fast day is actually going to be pushed away. In other words, in addition to the fact that Shabbos is a general taste of Mashiach's times, the very fact that the fast day is being pushed away, so that pushing away is a taste of Mashiach's times when the fast days were pushed away. Like it's especially emphasized in a Tish B'Av that comes out on Shabbos, that the Gemara discusses what happens when Tish B'Av comes out on Shabbos. So certain opinions hold that when Tish B'Av comes out on Shabbos, then v'dachinu la'achar Shabbos, then you push off the fast for after the Shabbos, like the halacha is. But Amar Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, the author of the Mishnah, says, Hayil v'nidche yidche, since it was already pushed off, it should be completely pushed off. And in the spiritual sense, it means that the pushing off of Shabbos empowers this day to be completely pushed off and transformed with the coming of Moshiach. Yesh loymar, I could say, this is to be found with even greater emphasis. The Sudas Tish B'Av Shechal b'Shabbos, in a Tish B'Av meal that comes out on Shabbos. Shekain b'Tish B'Av Yeshne Hagilu the latest on Mashiach Canal, because on Tish B'Av there's the revelation of the birth of Mashiach, like the Rebbe said earlier in the Sicha, that on Tish B'Av, as we know, is the day when Mashiach was born. Especially after midday, when particularly on Tish B'Av was Mashiach born, that was after Mincha, it's brought down. Especially in the meal of separation. Asuda Shlishi Shel Shabbos, the third meal of Shabbos. And we know that Chassidus always brings down that the third meal of Shabbos is connected with Mashiach's times even more so than the rest of Shabbos. Asuda Shlishi B'Chol Shabbos, because the third meal every Shabbos had a Kshurim, Asuda L'Los Love is connected with the Suda of the future times, of Mashiach's times, Sudas Leviasim V'Sharabar V'Shsias Yainam Shumar, the Suda of the Leviasim, the meal of eating the Leviasim fish, and the great wild ox, and the drinking the wine that's had been preserved since the Gan Eden, which is a Suda Gashmis, which was a physical meal that we are looking forward to concerning that time. And therefore, that's every Shalosh Shudas is something that reminds us of that. How much more so when we're dealing with the Suda Shlishis, the Suda Mafsekis of a Shabbos that comes out on Tish B'Av when Mashiach was born. Now the Rebbe is going to bring that out, an interesting connection between Tish B'Av that comes out on Shabbos and Yom Kippur in general. Tish B'Av is called the 9th day. When Tish B'Av comes out on Shabbos, we fast on the 10th and we eat on the 9th. This is just like Yom Kippur, where we fast on the 10th day of the month of Tishrei and we eat on the 9th. And to such a degree that the Chazal say that the eating on the 9th day of Tishrei is someone that eats on the 9th of Tishrei. It's as if he fasted for 2 days. In other words, he has both 2 days worth of Yom Kippur. He has the 9th and the 10th day of Yom Kippur, and he can compare it to our Kviyas this year when Tish B'Av comes out on Shabbos. Yes, Shloimar is Dalu. You say Yisrael is even more so. Kasher Tish B'Av Chal Shabbos, when Tish B'Av comes out on Shabbos. Vatainis Nitchis Las City, and the fast day is pushed off for the 10th of the month of Av. Then there's similar to the advantage of the 9th and the 10th of Tishrei, Erev Yom Kippurim, the day prior to Yom Kippur and Yom Kippur itself. Chazal say, whoever eats and drinks on the 9th of Tishrei, the Torah considers it as if he fasted for 2 days, not just one day Yom Kippur, but the ninth day of eating is also considered as holy as he fasted on the 10th. Hegdem, by prefacing what's the connection? Shaykh is the Tish B'Av Yom Kippurim, the connection of Tish B'Av Yom Kippur, the fast days, Shekulam Heim Kabbalah Umdrabanan, all the rest of the fast days that are Medivri Kabbalah, in other words, there's something brought down Tanakh, and they're called a rabbinic enactment. It's not in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah Mitzvah D'Oraisa. Yeshlam Shaykhs, they have a connection. That they are derived from the fast of Yom Kippur, that's Minat Torah, Ki Yadua, as it's known, Shekol mitzvahs derabanan and Ke'ein D'Oraisa, all the mitzvahs derabanan are similar to the Torah. Ad Shem Yotzes, Minim Shachas, and mitzvahs HaTorah, the Gmasam, to such a degree that we say that they are like extracted and comes out from the mitzvahs of the Torah and similar to that. Now, even though that is true, that all the fast days are connected to Yom Kippur, but we can definitely imagine and see of all those fast days, which fast day is most connected to Yom Kippur. Bein Adal Tzom is good for amongst the 4 fast days itself. Tisha B'Av Tisha B'Av is the most similar to Yom Kippur. Ein bein Tisha B'Av Yom Kippurim Chul. There's no difference between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur except for some very minor differences. One of the most obvious and clear similarities and common denominators between Tish B'Av and Yom Kippur, whereas all other fast days are just a daytime fast, but Tisha B'Av, Leiloi Ki Yoimei L'Chol Davar Chulum, Tisha B'Av, the night of Tisha B'Av, going into Tisha B'Av, and the day are the same. Bein HaShemashos also Yom Kippurim, and even Bein HaShemashos is prohibited. Just like Yom Kippurim, Bein HaShemashos, the time between Shkia and Seisach Chavim is prohibited. So in other words, the duration of the fast of Tisha B'Av and other aspects of Tisha B'Av are very similar to Yom Kippur. Then the Rebbe is going to bring another point now. We know that Tu B'Av, it says, Tu B'Av Yom Kippur were 2 special days. There were no Yom Tovim like Tu B'Av and Yom Kippur. And the Rebbe always speaks about that Tu B'Av is the open, revealed result of Tisha B'Av. So Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, is also connected with Tisha B'Av. So we see a further connection between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. Especially according to the words of Chazal, Shemashvin Hayom to the Tu B'Av. They compared the Yom Tov of the 15th of Av. It comes as a repair for those matters that occurred in Tisha B'Av. Where do we see it? It says, Yom Shekolu by Mesim Midbar. It's the day that they were finally realized that all those that were passing away in the wilderness were going to stop passing away at the end of the 40 years when Hashem decreed that the whole generation that came out of Mitzrayim, that because of the sin of the Meraglim weren't supposed to go into Eretz Yisrael, they died beginning in that Tisha B'Av. The decree against them dying in the wilderness took place in Tisha B'Av because that's when the Meraglim had convinced the Jewish people, came back and told them the bad news, and they all cried. And they just said, just like you cried then, I'll give you a reason what to cry for, like my mother used to tell me. Im Yom Kippurim, it's compared with Yom Kippur, the Tu B'Av, which is the repair of that day, is compared with Yom Kippur. There were no Yom Tovim for the Yidden, like the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur. So we see again this association between the Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. And in the inner message, we can see the connection between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. Geulah Ilu the Tisha B'Av, the great advantage and quality of Tisha B'Av. Asman, the latest of Moshiach, the time when Moshiach was born. Shebezman HaGolus Hareza Behelam, that in the time of Golus, this is concealed. Mizbata Begoli B'Chamisha B'Asar B'Av, this becomes expressed in a revealed way on the 15th of Av. Kasher Kai Mesira B'Ashlam Musa, when the moon is at its fullest. Azai Nasas Aliyah V'Shlemus B'Lavana, then there becomes an ascent and a perfection in the moon. which is the moon being full, and the moon represents Spheres HaMalchus, just like the moon receives from the sun, so too Malchus receives from the Spheres Hard, which is also the sphere of Malchus. The level of the moon is also Bechinas David Malchus Mashiach. It's also the level of the King David, which in Kiddush Levana, we say it in Kiddush Levana. And it's the 15th of Av, it's the moon being fullest. So what's so special about the moon being fullest? That happens every month. So it says, and the Rebbe brings us down, the moon becoming full following the 9th of Av is the greatest ascent. After the great descent and concealment that's to be found in Tish B'Av in the time of Geulah, like it says that the reason that the reason why the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, so that the lion should come during the constellation of the lion, during the sign of the lion, should build up the Ariel, the Beis Hamikdash, or the Mezbeach. Similar to the great joy and the great elevation and ascent of the 15th of Av, which is the moon being at its fullest, in the revelation of David, King Moshiach, which is associated with the moon and the level of Malchus. There's also something of this on the Shabbos of Tish B'Av. The latest Moshiach of Tish B'Av, when there's only the revealed, the inner good of the birth of Moshiach on the 9th of Av. Therefore, that also, that's why it was no Yom Tovim for the Yidden, not just the Yom Kippur, but also like the 15th of Av, the Geulah Ha'aliyah b'Tu B'Av, because the great ascent of Tu B'Av, then on Tu B'Av, which in this year on Shabbos Tish B'Av has as well, then it shines similar to the revelation of Mashiach's time, She'ein by Hefsek, that there is no stoppage, there is no ceasing of the revelation, HaKosher and Binyan Beis HaMikdash, that's connected with the building of the Beis HaMikdash, that will never be destroyed again. That's why we compare the great Yom Tov of the 15th of Av with Yom Kippur. Because the 15th of in the once a year of Yom Kippur, Shekosher and Geulah Yechida, it's connected. Why is it called the one day of the year? Because the revelation of the level called Yechida, the oneness of the soul, which is also connected with Moshiach. Moshiach is known as that Yechida of the whole Klal Yisrael. Nasa Gam Aliyas Malchus, the Pnimius Atik. Also, there's an elevation of Malchus, which we said before, is the level of the moon, the level of Dav Malch Mashiach. In the inner level of Atik, a higher level in Keser, Shugamkim Me'ein Delasid, it's similar to the future time. The Kosher Gam Im Beis Hamikdash is connected also with the Beis Hamikdash. Let's skip over the next paragraph. The Rebbe just says that the conclusion of everything, the whole 7 weeks of comfort is in Rosh Hashanah, and the conclusion of Rosh Hashanah is Yom Kippur. So we see that connection again. Bottom of the paragraph, bottom of the first column, according to what we explained earlier. Shabbos Tisha B'Av Misgala Toiv Pnimi V'Geulah Iluda Tisha B'Av, that in Shabbos Tisha B'Av is revealed the inner good and the great advantage of Tisha B'Av. Me'ein the Yehav Kuyam Meilul Sasnol Simcha L'Moedim Toivim Geulah Mitzvah Shleima, similar to what's going to happen when Mashiach comes, that these days will be transformed to Yom Tovim and in the future redemption. Nimtza Tisha B'Av Atzma Yeshna Al Derech Hagilud Yom Kippurim. In Tisha B'Av itself, there's similar to this great level of the revelation of Yechida that takes place in Yom Kippur. Raksha B'Zman has Geulah during the rather in the time of Geulah. It's it's concealed in those days that Tisha B'Av comes out in a weekday. So therefore, but when Tisha B'Av comes out on Shabbos, it's more revealed that connection. Let's skip over a little bit. There's a lot of very interesting things here, but I can't get to everything over here. Ois Vav. Yesh Loimar. Oh, no, that's not Vav, that's Zion. Where's Vav? Yesh Lahoisif. And we can add Shebekviyas Shanazu. In this, the setup of this year, the way it's set up, Tisha B'Av Chal b'Shabbos, when Tisha B'Av comes out on Shabbos, the Gama Askola Shalbein HaMitzarim Shivasa b'Tammuz Chal b'Shabbos, and also the beginning of the 3 weeks. The 17th of Tammuz also came out on Shabbos. Ba'atainis Nidches, and the fast was pushed away in both those cases. Nimtza Kavzau Chas Chola Vasiyum the Tlosa the Poronusa comes out at the beginning and the conclusion of the 3 of punishment, which is considered the 3 weeks when we read the 3 haftodos regarding the punishment. The beginning and the end, which is on Shabbos, is not connected with punishment. Allah Adra, it's just the opposite. It's connected in Yom Shabbos, Chemdas Yomim. It's connected with the day of Shabbos, the desired day. Mitzvah la'angei. It's a mitzvah to delight in it. The Rebbe said this on that Shabbos. He said, since I await him every day that he will come, so then tomorrow, Sunday, will also not be a fast. Then the Rebbe says, if heaven forbid, if Moshiach is delayed and will not come on this Sunday, it's a fast that already exited these 3 weeks of rebuke and punishment, and because they already were concluded on Shabbos. Let's skip over a little bit further. Now, the Rebbe connects it also with all the parshas that we read in the 3 weeks. Pinchas, Matzmatse, and Dvarim, all of it speak about the conquest of Eretz Yisrael and entering Eretz Yisrael and so on, which is obviously connected with Mashiach's times. So let's go on to Isaiah. 1 second. The Geulah Moshiach b'Tisha B'Av b'Mincha, that the idea of the revelation of Moshiach on Tisha B'Av and Mincha, K'pishu Kosher Ma'avoid B'Eretz Yisrael, the way it's connected with the service in Eretz Yisrael, Mudgish Yoser b'Parsha Shekorim b'Tfilas Mincha Shal Shabbos Tish B'Av Shabbos Chazoin Parshas V'Eschan. That it's connected even more and emphasized more with the Mincha davening of Shabbos Tisha B'Av, Shabbos Parshas Chazoin, because we read Parshas V'Eschan. The Rebbe goes on to say that what Moshe Rabbeinu asked for was to enter Eretz Yisrael, and if Moshe Rabbeinu's request would have been answered, so Mashiach, so that's why Mashiach didn't come then. Let's skip over to the next column. For different reasons, the davening of Moshe at its time, when the Moshe davened then, in those years, it was not fulfilled in actuality in the physical world. Skip the parentheses. Since it was a davening of Moshe, it was 515 tefillas, like the gematria of Eschanan. Surely, if Moshe Rabbeinu davened, surely it will become fulfilled. It will become fulfilled afterwards. Geulah mitzvah shleima de Moshiach tzedkeinu, the true and complete redemption through Moshiach. Shegoyel rishon Moshe, who goyel achron, the first redeemer. Moshe is the final redeemer. Who machnis is kol b'nei Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael, and he brings in all the Yidden to Eretz Yisrael, begula she'ein achrei golus, in the redemption that doesn't have any exile after it. But binyan beis hamikdash shlishi, in the building of the third beis hamikdash, bias nitzke, and everlasting home. The Kol Amar Yotzer, from all the above comes out that the tefillah of Moshe exists forever and always does and has its effect. Loidak bezmanahu, not only in that time when Moshe was davening for entering Eretz Yisrael, even after time, when the everlasting redemption will come about. Moshe Geulah Rishnu Geulah Achron. And Moshe, who is the first redeemer, he will be the final redeemer. Machnis is Kol Bnei Yisrael, the Eretz Yisrael. He will bring in all the Yidden into from Eretz Yisrael, all the Jewish people. He will bring them in into Eretz Yisrael. And let's skip over to a little bit further. Let's see further over here. It's a very long Sicha over here. Okay. Let's go to the end. The Rebbe keeps on talking about the idea of the 15th of Av should be a time of increasing in Simcha. And the Rebbe says, Anois Yud Gimel, V'yiratzon should be the will of Hashem, Shoid Kodim Chamish Asar B'Av, even prior to the 15th of Av, Void Lifnei Hayom Shalapanav, even before the days prior to it, I take of Miyad Mamish immediately, Tavik Para Geulah, the redemption should come immediately. Then we will celebrate the greatest joy. Simcha shalamaylam kol joy that's beyond all measure and boundary. Simcha zeshabah gula mitzvah shlema. It came. The joy for the fact that the true and complete redemption came about from Moshiach. V'yaviu al zeh korban toida, like we have over there, Kapitel Kuf. We're always saying we're going to bring. When Moshiach comes, a Thanksgiving sacrifice. Why? Because one of the four things for which we bring a korban toida is for someone that gets out of prison. That's the lengthy Geulah. Al Yitziam Beis Asurim Makloli, the Geulah, the going out of the big, the general imprisonment of Geulah. Kolshkim is actually Yachid Mechuyev the korban toida al Shu Yachid Yotzei Beis Asurim Aprati Shaloi. From the very fact that an individual is obligated in bringing a korban toida, a Thanksgiving offering, when an individual goes out of his own individual imprisonment. Skip over to the next paragraph. Mamshichim asimcha b'yom shel achriza, and we continue the joy in the following days. That we celebrate the great Yom Tov of the 15th. And before that, the great Yom Tov of the 10th of Av that will be transformed to joy. Yom Shel Achriza, and the days following this, with Simcha Geulah Shalamaylam Komdidav Agbola, with a great joy beyond every measure and boundary. Behesem Loiros Chazal, appropriate to the directives of Chazal. Shloihoy Yom Tovim Yisrael Chamisha Asar B'Av. There were no Yom Tovim for the Eden like the 15th of Av. Naila Yoser Ma'Simcha Demoidim L'Simcha. Meaning, if it says there were no Yom Tovim like the 15th of Av, that means they're even greater than the joy of the Yom Tovim that are assigned for joy. B'shal Shur Golim, Sukkot, Shavuos, Pesach. Even though then they brought what's called the peace offerings of Simcha, that was a minatoidic obligation. The Yoser Naila Filum Misimchas Ad Layod the Purim. The Yom Tov of the 15th of Av is even greater than the joy of Ad Layada of Purim. Vasimcha the Simchas Torah b'Sham Sha'avra, and greater than the Simcha of Simchas Torah of prior years. So too, they will continue to celebrate all the Farbrengens and joyous occasions. But Adrab, even more so in Simcha L'Maylam Didav Agbola, with a joy beyond measure and boundary. Kivin Shadafka Oz Yimol Yitzchak Pinu. Since then, specifically, when Moshiach comes, our mouth will be filled with laughter. Kol Gama Shlemus B'Simchas Nisuyim, including also the completion and perfection of the joy of a wedding, because that's Tu B'Av was associated with the Simcha of weddings. Moshiach, like it says, Meheir Hashem Elokecha Hashem Elokeinu Yishama Bar Yehuda, speedily Hashem our God will be heard in the cities of Yehuda, B'chutz Yerushalayim, in the outskirts of Yerushalayim, Kol Sasim, Kol Simcha, Kol Chasim, Kol Chag Kala, the sound of rejoicing and happiness, the sound of a chos and the sound of a kala, adla simcha achig gdoila, till the greatest joy and the Suin the Knesset Yisrael v'Kadosh Baruch Hu begula mitzvah shleima, the marriage of the Jewish people and Hashem in the true and complete redemption. Ka'amur, like we said before, take it from Yad Mamish immediately, b'Yom Mamish, from this day Mamish. Came meduber kama v'kama pamim. This is what's spoken about many times. Shesimu kvar kol ha'inyanim. All matters were already concluded. Beis Hamikdash oimed u'muchan l'mayla. Beis Hamikdash is standing and ready above. V'al derech ze ben Geulah chol ha'inyanim. So too concerning all matters. Kvar hakoil muchan l'suda. Everything is already prepared for the meal. Yeshnam kol ha'inyanim muchanim. All matters are already ready. Kiteva kibetevas gura v'nosna ateva amftech kol Yehudi. The Rebbe likens it. If you give a person a treasure chest filled with precious diamonds, etc., and gold and silver, etc., and you give him also the key, so even though he hasn't yet opened the treasure chest, but since he has the key and he has the treasure chest, he's already rejoicing. The only thing that they're waiting for is Yehudi Yitzchak Oitzak, that Yid should cry out another cry. With another request and demand, and another mentioning ad mosai. How long? By days who poil Moshiach tzidkenu nichnas actual base knesses. Through this, he affects the Moshiach tzidkenu now will enter this shul. V'lekech as kol Yehudim kan. He takes all the Yidden over here, but to Klal Yisrael amongst Klal Yisrael, L'Artzeinu HaKadosh, our holy land, Yerushalayim Ira Kodesh, Yerushalayim our holy city, Lahara Kodesh, to the holy mountain, the base of Mikdash Shlishi, the third base of Mikdash. And yet in this Shabbos Chazon, we merit that our eyes will see in your return to Tzion with compassion and mercy. You could take me out mamish. An additional, that's primary, immediately mamish.
Amen. Ad Mosai.